Alrighty, y'all, it's that time of year again. It is the fall big bass bash this weekend. As you see, I got a nice little lineup of pride rods with evolve sleeves here behind me that we're going to walk through, and I'm going to show y'all what I would have tied on for it, and how to navigate the pressure of all the boats that's going to be out there, and how to kind of get around that and maybe put a couple extra big bites in the boat. So stay tuned, and we'll show you what I would do. Alrighty, so first thing I would do on Saturday for sure is I definitely start the morning with the Topwater. Usually the tournament starts around safe light, which is about 6:30 in the morning, so you got about an hour of good Topwater, and I would navigate this two ways. I'd be slinging the buzzbait. This right here is the new Motion Fishing sound check buzzer. This thing's pretty bad, dude, and as you can see, it's a squeaking style, and which I think honestly a squeaking style buzzbait is gonna do you a little bit better than a head knocker style buzzbait, and that's just because you're gonna have so many people out there throwing the Crocodiler head knocker or any other really loud knocking style buzzbaits, whereas this one I feel like you can get a little bit extra bites, especially on pressured fish, with having that squeak style. It's a little bit quieter, a little bit more subtle, and the way this head's designed is you just slip your toad right up on there. This is the Crocodiler X toad, which is one of my favorites to throw. The only downside is they do break after skipping a while. If you hit one cable with it, you're kind of cooked with the toad. But the buzzbait, the more you use this thing, the louder, the more better the sound gets on it. And I've been throwing it for a couple weeks now, and it's by far my favorite buzzbait at the moment. And I think that right there can very well get you a big bite, if not a check fish. And then the second thing I'd have doing, especially if you have a partner or something, I'd have them be throwing this one knocker spook. This kind of goes against what I was just saying with the buzzbait, but a lot of people will throw a BB styled spook versus a one knocker, and I feel like the one knocker can be just a little bit different sound than what they're used to hearing. This thing has been chewed lately. I've caught multiple over 6 on this in the past few weeks, and it's just been one of those things that you get a lot of bites on, and it's very prone to get a really big bite on. And I'm throwing this on the Pride. This is the Topwater Magic by Pride. This thing handles these walking baits very well, especially these bigger ones like this. You can pop them really hard, you can work them really subtle. It's a really good rod for it, and I think that could get you a very big bite, but I think it could definitely cash you a check. Last year's fall big bass bash, my buddy Camden caught one that was a little over, or close to 6 on this, the Friday before the bash, up on the lower end. So that's definitely something to keep in mind and throw in the morning if you're not getting bit on that buzzbait and you still got a little bit of morning time left. Switch over to that spook. And another thing with that spook is you can get a pretty good bite usually going on the shade lines of docks, throwing that right up along the side of a dock on the shady side and just slowly walking it back. Especially that one knocker can really call them up from underneath those floats. So that would be a definitely a thing I'd key in on a little bit. And I don't think there'll be a ton of people throwing a spook like that down the sides of docks in the shade. I think there'll be a lot more glide baits and stuff going versus a Topwater. So that's something you could change up a little bit different, throw on Sunday maybe, get you an extra bite. It's hard telling, but I think that could be a very good way to get a good big bite. While we're kind of on the subject of moving baits, let's go right into like the glide bait style stuff right after I talk about a chatterbait. This right here is a jackhammer. I'm throwing this on an FX Extreme Carbon Series rod because I don't have any other chatterbait rod. But this right here is just a jackhammer. This is one of my favorite colors. I forgot the name of it. I think it's Brett's Gill. But this is just a 1/2 ounce jackhammer with a green pumpkin freeloader on the back. And I'm skipping this around docks. I'm throwing it along chunk rock. I'm chucking and winding this dude, covering a lot of water with it. It's won the bash multiple years in the past, and the fall one's no different. I think it's actually won a couple of the fall ones, but no, this thing, it's known to get a big bite. It's a very good bait to cover a lot of water fast, and to get just a bunch of bites. You'll catch a lot of fish on it, and I don't know, there's really not much to talk about. It's a chatterbait. It's one of the best baits to ever hit the market. I'm throwing this on a 7, I think it's 7 3-1. yeah, a 7.5 to 1, a Lose Custom Pro. It's probably my favorite, other than the Custom Light, to throw that chatterbait on. It's real smooth, can bomb it a mile. But yeah, that's my, I think a chatterbait could get a good bite going. And then I'll go to this one. So this right here, if you're going to go win it, I think a Clutch Boss, also known as just a big glide, is a very good way to go and target those one to 3 bites a day. And if not, you definitely could catch a good check on this, if not win the thing. I'd be targeting more of your main lake bluffing, some of your chunk rock towards the main lake, mouths of big creeks, or just anywhere where you're finding that nice green, like mossy style stuff on the rocks. I'd be throwing a big glide, because there's going to be big gizzards around that, because that's their main forage right now, is that mossy stuff. They feed on that, and if there's big gizzards, there's most likely going to be a big old green one around there somewhere. But yeah, this is the Clutch Boss. This is my favorite big glide to throw. I scope with this over brush piles. That could be a thing to do. And it's just an all-around big fish bait. I throw it up along the sides of some main lake condo docks, so you can get some good bites doing that. It's just a big fish catcher. I'm throwing this on the 7'10", I want to say, Pride. Hang on 1 second here, I'm a little retarded. Yeah, the 7'10" Pride Prowler. This is probably the best rod I've ever used for a big glide like this. It's got a big old long handle, so you can chuck that thing and place it where you want it. But it's a really light rod, and it's got a good tip on it, so you can really work a glide. You can really play with your slack on that. But no, that's something I definitely have in my hand a lot, especially on those main lake more bluffy style banks and around those big condo docks. And then my favorite glide that I own, this right here, is the Clutch Darter. Y'all have heard me talk about this a lot. Y'all have seen me catch a lot of big fish on this thing. This is just an all-around fish catcher. As you can see, he's been freaking annihilated. This dude's been chewed. I've caught a lot of 4+ pound fish on this on Lake of the Ozarks this year. This bait's won me a good bit of money on Lake of the Ozarks this year. And the thing with this glide here is you work it really fast, so you can cover a lot of water with it, as well as just not only catch 1 or 2 big ones a day. You can go out there and have 10, 20 fish days on this right here and just have a good time. But that's something I would definitely throw a lot. This thing would probably be glued in my hand almost all day if I was fishing the bass, just because I know what it's capable of. And not only that, but you're gonna have a lot of people throwing these like Chad style glides, these like 6 to 7 inch glides where you're working them slow and not really going for more or less a reaction bite, but trying to get a feeding bite on them. Whereas the Clutch Darter, you get a lot of reaction bites. You get them coming, shooting out, swiping at this thing. You can hammer them on it, especially pressured fish, because they don't really see anything like it. You kind of have like an effectiveness of a spook with this thing with your walking, and you can work it really fast, but then you still have the drawing power of a glide. So it's a really good bait, especially on pressured fish, just because they don't see something like it very often. Because I mean, when you're working this thing, you're working it. That thing's sitting there in the water, just about a foot under, doing that. I throw that in the shade of docks, mainly in the shades of docks. Just along chunk rock. I caught it in the practice for the BFL Super. I had 3 bites. It was over 4 pounds and 1 little pocket on that, just on shady chunk rock off a main lake, in a main lake pocket. That would be the main places I'd go run with that style bait, that glide, big glide, little glide like that. That's just kind of the main areas I'd key in on, mainly up the river, honestly. I know that glide bait bite, the water be a little bit cooler up once you get between Four Corners and Ivy Bend area. That's probably where I'd spend a lot of my time with the glide, just because the water's probably a hair bit cooler up there, a little bit more stained, so they don't get a real good look at it. And I think there's a lot more little cuts and pockets up that way that have that better chunk rock that you're gonna go find, so that you can throw that glide on a little bit better. That's, to me, I'd rather throw a glide on chunk rock rather than just throwing it down docks. But you catch a lot of big fish, especially in the fall, just throwing that down the shades of docks. I've done it, a lot of people do it. It's gonna probably end up cashing a lot of checks this fall in the shades of docks. So if you can find docks under 10 foot of water, probably I'd go throw a glide down the shade side of them, and you're gonna get a good bite. You're gonna get a chance at one. Just gotta hang in there and keep your confidence and throw that bait. But let's get into some bottom baits. I forgot to mention I'm throwing my darter. This is a 8-to-1 gear ratio metanium reel, and then just a 7-foot heavy Pride Advanced Series rod. You don't have to have a real fancy glide rod for this here setup, because I mean it's a real light bait. You can bomb it a long way on a 7-foot heavy, but you definitely want that faster gear ratio reel. Like I said, this is just a 8-to-1 metanium. This is pretty much a workhorse for this here bait, but you want that faster reel so you can catch up your slack. Anyway, getting to the bottom baits, this is how a majority of the field is going to be fishing, not only because you catch big ones doing it, but you catch a ton of fish doing it and can have a lot of fun. As you've seen me catch a lot of my fish this summer on, that would be this dude right here. This is my favorite jig. This is the Motion Fishing Gill Candy 1/2 ounce football jig. I have it paired up with the Z Daddy by Bojangles, and this is probably just a big fish catching bait, along with you can go out there and have 100 fish days on this bait. But this is my favorite jig. I've been throwing it a lot this year, especially on Lake Ozarks. It's caught me a ton of bass, a lot of big fish as well. I'd go skip this in the darkest spots of the docks, throw it on the big chunk rock that's producing shade underwater, and just in brush. You can throw it in brush. Just throw this at every little piece of structure you see, whether it's probably every little piece of structure you see less than 20 foot of water, I'd be throwing a jig on. And don't count out the little bitty things, like if you just are going up and you have scope and you're panning around and you see just a little nick on the bottom and you're like, there's nothing on that, you better cast on that sucker, because especially Sunday, these fish are going to move out of those big brush piles and start keying in on some of that real small, subtle stuff that a lot of people aren't going to be fishing. But I'd definitely go throw this football jig on that stuff, and you will catch a lot of fish doing it, and you'll have a very good chance of putting that bait in front of a 4, 5, 6+ pound fish. And with the jig, my jig combo, I'm throwing a 7.3 medium heavy Pride rod, Advanced Series, and then I have this is actually a little bit slower reel than I'd like, but I just like throwing this reel. It's just fun to use, and it's smooth. This is the brand new Lew's Custom Light. This is a 7.5-to-1. I'd like it 8-to-1 when I'm fishing around docks usually, but this one's been doing really good for me all summer. I've kind of been throwing it a little bit slower reel. It's done the job. It's got them out. But I'm throwing 25-pound Suffix Advanced on that, so a real thick, heavy line. And the reason I'm throwing that little bit heavier line is not only because you can get them out of the stuff a heck of a lot easier and safer, but that little bit stiffer line will skip a lot better than versus like a 20 or 17-pound line. It's a little bit more limber, so you're prone to backlash more, I feel like. But when you get that heavier, stiffer line, it just kind of glides in there a lot easier. It's a little bit stiffer. You can skip just a lot better with a heavier line. But going on to the next bait here on the bottom, this dude, I've won a lot of money on him on Lake Ozarks. Just a green pumpkin candy log hog. Always dye the tip. Same thing with the jig. I dye the tip on a jig all the time, every time, because you have a lot of bluegill eaters. But I'm just throwing him on a 5/16 ounce Wu tungsten weight with a 4-aught BKK worm hook. But this dude will catch a lot of fish right now, especially as a lot of these shallow fish are feeding on bluegill. That green pumpkin candy is a really good bait. And as far as combos go with this, I'm throwing this on a 7.3 heavy Pride Advanced Series rod with just a 7.5-to-1 Lew's Pro TI. But that dude right there, everybody throws a brush hog style bait, but that log hog seems to get a lot bigger bites than just a normal brush hog tends to, in my opinion. I don't know. It's the log hog by Bojangles is who makes it, and it's just a fish catcher, especially on Lake Ozarks. And getting into your Sunday versus a jig, rather than throwing a jig, I'd start downsizing on Sunday, because you're gonna have 1,800 boats roughly, probably pounding them with a jig. And I'd either downsize from that football and going down to, this is a Motion Fishing Finesse jig. This is a 7/16. I'd even go down to a 5/16. This is just the green pumpkin color they make, but their gill candy is also my favorite color by them. I just don't have any in the 7/16 at the moment. I have a bunch of 5/16, and honestly, you may even have to go down to that if you're not getting bit or having a tough time on those heavier weights. But I'd pair this with a motion fishing clutch crawl. That's my opinion. That is the best finesse jig trailer on the market, is that clutch crawl junior. But definitely I'd be throwing this over a football jig on Sunday. But Sunday or Saturday, you can definitely get away with throwing that big football jig and still producing some big bites. But I'd definitely be 1-2 punching with that football jig and that log hog for sure. And then if you have a partner sitting in the back of the boat, definitely a shaky head. This dude right here did a lot of damage in the Toyota Series this last weekend. And I mean, it's just a big fish catcher. I've caught a lot of them. We've had a couple 18+ pound bags on this dude this summer. And I'm throwing this on a greenfish tackle creeper head. This is a 1/2 ounce head. I'd go down to a 3/8 or even a quarter with the pressure. And then this is just a Bojangles smoke pole and Bama bug. That's my favorite shaky head worm to throw, especially on a mag shaky worm like this. That dude's been producing a lot of big fish lately. There's been multiple big bass bash winning caliber fish caught on that in the last couple weeks. So it would not surprise me at all if the winning fish came on this year's shaky head. But I'm throwing this on a 7-foot heavy Pride Advanced rod with another 7.5-1. This is a Custom Pro by Luz. It's a really good reel. This is an older series, but I like this one because it has the better the TPE, or no, not, what the heck am I saying? The foam handles. It's got the foam handles. I like these handles a lot better than the new ones they got out there. But yeah, I definitely would not be surprised if the winning fish came on that there shaky head with that Bojangles worm. That would not surprise me one bit. But on to the last final few rods I'd be using. This is where it gets a little bit more finessey stuff, that if you're good with using a live scope screen, then I'd definitely recommend going out there and throwing these. Alrighty. I got 2 rods with me right here. These are pink sleeves, which means they're spinning rods. And we're gonna start off with the one everybody loves. And that would be a minnow. This right here is the Bojangles Wingman. This is the 6-inch right here. This one has been doing some damage on some 4+ pound fish on Lake Ozarks this summer. As you've seen me and Ian in one of our last videos I think I posted, we had one that was touching 5 on this, just shaking it over their head. Some of those deep schoolers, there's still some of those out there. You just gotta stumble into them kind of. They're pretty scattered, and a lot more little ones out there than big ones. But now this right here could definitely win the bash 100%. You just got to go out there and hunt them. But a big profile minnow like this is the Bojangles Wingman. Like I said, this is a 6-inch version. But motion fishing, we also have a really good one that's got a little bit bigger profile, and that's the 5-inch motion minnow. That one I've caught a lot of giant fish on. I mean, I've won probably 24, 25 tournaments just on that motion minnow. And it's just a fish catcher. But this dude right here on Lake Ozarks, they seem to really like this more smoky shad color right here. And then we also got a couple newer colors at Bojangles that they've been really chewing lately, along with like a mistake color. But what I'm doing with that is I'm still working the main lake a lot. I'm going along those bluff ends, coming your little bit flatter points, and you're just casting that roamers. Fish roaming around down there in the middle of the water column. You're throwing that dude on them, shaking it over them. And then I'm also throwing it over brush piles. If you see some that's sitting on the top of the brush pile, or on cables even, you shake it over the fish that's sitting on the cables. More times than not, they will eat it. And then how a lot of the bigger fish that I've caught recently on that thing have been is kind of towards the backs of the creeks and the ditches. Any little piece of structure, stump, anything on the bottom in less than like probably 18 foot of water, you shake that minnow over it, you will have a fish shoot off of that. Whether they eat it or not, it's hard telling, but there's a lot of big fish that's sitting out there right now waiting for shad to come back to them, or shad are already back there present, and that's even better. A little bit higher chance of getting one to bite. But that's kind of what I'm doing with that. And that's one of my favorite ways to catch a bass right now. I'm throwing this on a, this is an owner round eye head, I think is what it's called. But this is just a little 2/0 hook on an 1/8 ounce. And then I'm throwing that on a Shimano Vantford 2500 reel with a Pride 7.5 scope and time rod. That's just kind of my go-to for the little bit bigger minnows like that. I will go down to like a 7-foot medium light rod for like a 5 or a 4-inch, but that 7.5 advanced series, or not, I don't even think it's an advanced series, I think it's just the scope and time. That 7.5 scoping time does really well with that 6-inch minnow size. Going to the last and final thing I want to talk about. I kind of don't want to talk about it because I've kind of kept it to myself a little bit lately, and that would be just a Nico rig. A lot of people don't throw a Nico, or a lot of people don't know how to throw a Nico. This right here, this is a little bit smaller worm. I usually throw the mag hit worm by Powerbait, the max scent. This is just the normal 4.5-inch size hit worm. But anyway, I'm throwing a 1/16 ounce weight in the front. I'm using either a VMC Redline hook because they have a really big fluorocarbon keeper on it, or I'm throwing the BKK drop shot hook because it also has a really good fluorocarbon keeper on it. Because the way I rig it, I Texas rig it like this. Buddy Stone showed me that, and you can literally throw this thing in the middle of a brush pile and not get hung up. Versus if you use a band, like a wacky rig band on it, you're gonna get hung up every time you even look at brush. But no, this hit worm is by far my favorite bait to throw on a Nico. I just got second in Palm de Terre tournament, mostly on a Nico, and it's just a fish catcher. But the reason I bring it up for the Big Bass Bash is because this thing, I think it has potential to win the thing, just because these fish don't ever see it. And when you have a field of boats that's the size of the field that you're gonna have this weekend in the bash, you're gonna want to throw something at them that they don't see very often. And I think that Nico is gonna come into play where you can go scope some brush piles with the Nico rig. Like I said, I'd recommend the mag hit worm over this little one. I'd go get a green pumpkin candy. I always dye the end of it, and I always put more scent on it. I'll talk about that scent here in a second. But no, that Nico, I'd go around with a scope and I'd throw that thing at every little piece of cover. You're gonna have to be patient with it, work it super slow, because these fish will be pressured, especially on Sunday. They're already been hammered because it's Lake of the Ozarks. But no, a lot of people don't throw this, and a lot of people that do throw it don't really know how to throw it properly. So that's just kind of something you want to go out there and experiment with, and I think it very well can get you a big bite. A lot of people don't think these little fairy ones, little light line, can win the bash, but this little dude right here is prone to win the bash just as much as a big jig, shaky head, or a glide is. You just got to know where to throw it, what to throw it on, and how to throw it. But I can kind of talk about that a little bit. Like I said, just go throw that thing. Any little piece of structure, brush pile that you see that looks like it has fish on, you can throw that thing at the corners, the back corners of docks, and then just slowly work it, and it will get bit a lot, and you are very prone to cash a check on that bait. But you want to just work it as slow as you possibly can, just barely crawl it on the bottom, because the way that thing fishes, if you just hop it a little too hard, it'll come off the bottom and it won't look as natural. Just want to really hold it in that fish's face as long as you can, and you will get a good bite on it. But going into the last thing I was going to talk about, and it's scent. Scent is one of the biggest keys, I think, when it comes to catching bass. They use their scent more than they use any other scents that they have, and that's why I'm always using scent. At Bojangles, we just came out recently with a new scent, and it has already proved itself a ton. It is a fish catching, it just catches them. It gets them bite, especially in heavily pressured scenarios. I can go behind people with this scent and I can catch them on it. There's been multiple top 10s in big tournaments lately because of this scent. And let me grab a bottle and I'll show you all what I'm talking about if you already don't know. Alrighty, so this is what I'm talking about right here. This is the new Jangle Juice bottles from Bojangles. They are $10 a bottle, I think, but this bottle will last you a good week or so if you fish heavily, tournament fish every single day. This bottle will last you 3 days to a week if you fish like I do. But this stuff is freaking potent. It's like you take a crawdad and you just squeeze all the life out of them and juice them, and then throw a little bit of garlic in there, and that's basically this stuff right here. It's stupid strong. I gotta keep it in like a trash bag in the back of my deck system just so it doesn't smell up everything. But no, this stuff, it works. It has proven itself more times than not over the last month or so. And I mean, if y'all don't have a bottle of this, I'd definitely swing by Bo's or anywhere that carries Bojangles stuff and gets you a bottle of it, because I mean, you're gonna want it, especially on Sunday with these heavily pressured fish that I keep talking about. You're gonna want to have some sort of scent that most of the field doesn't have, and that's what you're gonna get out of this right here. This will produce you a few extra bites, if not some big bites. And when you pair this with something like the smoke pole or this motion fishing football jig, you will catch a big bass. If not, you're gonna have a chance at one at least. So I would definitely highly recommend this. And if you need it, you can shoot me a message and I can direct you to where to get some, or you can go to Bojangles Facebook, and they should have a list, I think, of some of the stores that they have it in on there. If not, you can personal message them on Facebook and he'll get you hooked up. But yeah, if you have any questions or want any tips about anything, just shoot me a comment, text me, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help with whatever I can. I'm not able to go down there and fish this year because some things that kind of got in the way, also known as winning a boat earlier this year, kind of keeps you from being allowed to fish stuff like that. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything that you want to just talk about, little tips here and there, advice, whatever you want from me, just shoot me a message, comment on this video, and I'll try to help you out the best I can. I'm going to Tail Rock this weekend to fish a derb there, and then coming back here to school to go fish a USA Bassin on Old Carroll. So got a little bit busy weekend ahead of me, and anyway, I don't know what it'll take to win the bash, but I don't think it'll be over 7. I think it'll be like a 6. I'd probably say it'll take about a 680-ish. It usually does in the fall, take about a 680-ish to win. So I think if you can catch anything over that 6-pound caliber, you're gonna be way up there, top 5, if not leading the thing. So that's kind of something to key in on. But if it was me, I'd go throw that buzzbait early for probably the first hour, and then after that I'd probably go throw a glide and skip a jig almost the rest of the day. Shake a minnow a little bit, and Sunday I'd have a Nico rig in my hand a lot. I'm not gonna catch a lot of big fish, but I think you can very well catch several big ones doing it, if not cash a couple checks on that Nico. But anyway, good luck to everybody fishing this weekend, and I hope you all catch them. And I'm ready to see the weights. I'm excited. I love watching the results of this tournament and see how good the lake's fishing. So we'll catch you on the next one.